Well, one of the things that I've experienced in my coaching endeavors has been really puzzling. This is why I'm puzzled. I get an email from somebody that goes something like this. Help me. I'm in big trouble. I desperately need to stop looking at porn, but I can't seem to, and it's killing me. I need help. Please get back to me. I get emails like that. And I do. As quickly as possible, I send them an email back and say, dude, I know this sucks horribly, but there's hope. Not only have I turned the corner on porn, but many guys I've worked with have done so as well. And let's get together. I can tell you a bit more of my story. You can tell me a bit more of your story, and we can figure out a way forward. Sounds good, right? So I send the email off, and guess what happens? I never hear back. It's puzzling. You go, what's going on? Today, I think I've got some insight, and I want to explain this dynamic, and I want to use the topic, the idea or the theme around false starts when it comes to our recovery. So welcome aboard.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Okay, so let's go back to this example of somebody reaching out and try to add a bit of a play-by-play to this dynamic. And I'm going to call this dynamic the false start of recovery. So when somebody reaches out to me with one of those help emails, it is an honest cry for help. I don't diss that. I don't discount that. Because especially immediately following a bad relapse, there can be such a flood of emotions. Emotions such as regret, remorse, even a form of self-loathing. And you're going, I will do anything to find relief from those painful feelings. I mean, that feeling of inner turmoil is one of the worst things in the world. I've felt it many times. I guess that you have probably felt that many times. You wake up the next day and go, oh, or right after a relapse, you just are flooded with this negative flood of emotions going, I can't believe it. And so in your desire to end that pain and misery, you rifle off an email in desperation. Help. Essentially, you're saying, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want out of this lather, rinse, repeat cycle that's got me trapped. And I want to do whatever it takes to not feel this way anymore. So, you tracking with me so far? So the question is, so what happens? Why not the responding email when I reach out? Where does the urgency go? Well, the quick answer would be that sense of urgency, that emotional flood of regret, doesn't last very long. Hours, maybe a day, but it's gone faster, I don't know, than a snowfall in Los Angeles, right? So, And you say, well, how does that happen? How do we go from a place of this complete sense of urgency and regret, and I'll send this email off, to not now needing or feeling that we now need to do anything? Well, one reason I've come to believe is that we often employ what I call well-meaning resolutions to insulate ourselves. And we insulate ourselves by these sorts of self-promises or self-vows, which we really, really mean. And that we tell ourselves and we really, really believe it. That's it. I am so done with that. I mean, look at how I feel. I can't believe what I did. I mean, that was definitely the last time. Definitely no more. I mean, I have finally learned my lesson. I mean, I didn't even enjoy it a whole lot. Right? Ever told yourself some of those? And here's the crazy truth. We believe ourselves. And because that flood of regret or remorse is flowing out of a recent relapse, when we say that to ourselves in that place of emotion, it is genuinely believable. And because it's so believable, because we feel so strongly about it, we convince ourselves that our plan that we made to reach out and tell someone or get help is no longer something that we need to do. Because we now have this newfound sense of resolve. And we think, well, I've turned the corner now. Any of this sound familiar? I almost wish that I could, that sense of resolve that follows a relapse. I wish that I could take a blood sample that included all of those regret elements in them. And later on, I could just re-inject myself and get back to that same amount of resolve. Wouldn't that be nice? So we have, let's say, our weekend binge. And we end up sending off that help email Sunday night or early Monday morning. Well, by Monday afternoon or maybe Tuesday morning, we now feel like, gee, you know what? Maybe I don't need to do what I felt was so necessary only the day before. I mean, we are truly amazing, self-deluding creatures, aren't we? And we tell ourselves, I think I'm good to go now. And I think I'm past this. The problem is we're good until we're not. There's something else that can add to this sort of self-deluding dynamic. And that is what I see with many guys, which is the episodic nature of our binges. I mean, if we act it out every day or 2 or 3 times every day with porn, and I know there's guys that are caught in that dynamic, and that's a horrible place to be. But at one level, that actually is it's easier and clear to work with guys that can't go a day without porn, right? Because there's not a lot of self-deception that you can live in that place. But here's the question. What happens if you only binge every 2 or 3 weeks or every 2 or 3 months? You see, in between the binges, you tell yourself you've turned a corner. You're feeling good. You're feeling strong. And you mostly believe it. But eventually, the resolve that flowed out of your last relapse, we'll call that relapse regret, that regret fades, and soon the pull or allure of porn returns in its attractiveness, and you're back at the same place. But it's that episodic nature which makes it even easier to fool ourselves or delude ourselves. Now, in Christian circles, there's two words that are often confused, and they might shed some further light on this puzzling dynamics. Now, even if you're not a Christian, you'll get this, and it'll make clear sense here. The two words that are used are the words repentance, that sounds like a religious word, I know, and the word remorse, that's just a general word. Now, the word repentance is often used, again, it's a heavy sounding word, but all it really means, the Greek word is metanoia. All it really means is to change the direction of your steps. Repentance. I was heading east. I saw that I was on the wrong route. I turned the car around, and now I'm heading west. That is what's meant by that word repentance. But the word remorse, even if it's accompanied by tears and sorrow, it's simply an emotional response to the negative place that we find ourselves. You see, remorse without action simply doesn't mean anything. Don't ever confuse remorse with a change of direction. My wife recently sent me this quote. I don't know where she saw it. And this is what the quote said. An apology without change is merely manipulation. Oh, maybe she was trying to tell me something, you think? I don't know why she sent me that. But so, again, the difference between repentance, true changing of direction, or truly reaching out, and simply remorse is another example of what could be labeled a recovery false start. Talking about false starts, I don't know if you've ever watched the 100-yard dash at the Olympics. I think you're only allowed, if I might be wrong on this, you're only allowed one false start and then you're disqualified. Hopefully that's not the case in recovery, or we're all hooped. But you know what a false start is. Everyone's lined up in their starting blocks, and getting off to a good start is super important. And then what happens is, the gun goes and everyone takes off. But if somebody jumps the gun, the next gun goes and they have to try again. False start. Or a false start is simply you jumping out of the starting blocks in recovery with a great burst of speed, but then just starting and stopping, 10 yards down the track. That's what I mean by false start. Having good intentions, but not following through. Sending out the first email, but then not replying because we feel like we no longer need to take such a drastic step, such as getting together with someone or other fellow strugglers and telling our story. It's saying you're sorry and really meaning it, but then not accompanying it with any concrete actions. All of those are examples of recovery false starts. So you might ask, so Vern, what do you do when you get those emails from people? You get the first one and then you send it back. You don't hear anyone's. Do I email them back and pester them and say, but you told me you needed help. What changed? No, I don't do that. What it tells me, and this is just the sad truth, is that whoever sent me that email, those whatever destructive, obsessive, compulsive behaviors they're going through, those behaviors just need more time to bake in the oven, right? They need to turn black. They need this, they need to start causing smoke. The smoke needs to fill the kitchen, right? Eventually, almost always, there will be such a there will be so much smoke that even our best efforts at deluding ourselves will be impossible to maintain. It could be eventually some sort of external consequences need to intervene in your life and overwhelm your brain fog or your resolutions or your great remorse but lack of repentance. Any effort on my part to convince someone before that point is usually ineffective. Here's the sad part, I guess. The earlier someone comes to their senses, the more chances they have of changing the course or the direction of their life without permanent life-altering results. I've had many people tell me, I wish I'd started this so much earlier. Or I wish I had been caught earlier. Or if I knew that these behaviors would lead to these results, I never would have walked down this addictive pathway for as long as I did. I wish it didn't take me as long as it took me to get started. I wish there wasn't as many false starts. So, I know this sounds heavy. All I'm trying to tell you is this. If you find yourself repeatedly practicing a series of false starts in your recovery, I implore you to take control, responsibility for your situation. Realize your own best thinking is not serving you well. My email is bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com. And here's to the belief that there is never a better time to do the right thing than to do it right now. Do the next right thing. We'll see you next time.